Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Market Review. Sorry, we had this few minutes delay, right? It's a holiday and everybody's just trying to keep up to speed. So I believe we all had a wonderful holiday yesterday, and I think it's continuing today. I just hope we are having the best of it. For those that were able to join in the class yesterday, I believe you're able to take advantage of the market, right? Because there was a lot of high impact news that came out yesterday, and we could all see that actually tell off on the dollar index, right? So let's quickly dive into it. Every morning I tell traders the first thing you need to look out for before deciding what instrument to trade on is for you to determine what impact news you'll be expecting for the day. And to a large extent, that should guide your decision as to what instrument you'll be trading on, right? So that being said, let's quickly look at Forest Factory to see what high impact news we'll be expecting for the day. So just hold on while I share my screen so we could just quickly proceed. All right, so for today being the 29th, right, we have a couple of high impact news coming out today. We have the German prelim CPI, which is going to be lasting all day. It's it's more of okay, the German prelim CPI. Okay, it's going to be it's going to be lasting all day. Then we have news on the USD, which is going to be a speech by Fed Chair Powell, right? That will be the speech will be starting by 7:30 a.m. Right. So I think it's this is almost yes, this is 8:16. So that speech had already started, right? So also we had the Spanish flash CPI, which came out by 8, and that came out on the Eurozone. And then by 1 p.m., by 1:30 p.m., the news we're still expecting for today is the final GDP for the US. We have the unemployment claims. I'm most likely looking out for the unemployment claim because that's one high impact news that actually influenced a lot of traders' decision in the market. We also have final GDP price index also coming out by 1:30. So we are expecting a whole lot of volatility on the USD. And since we don't have high impact news coming out on other currency pair. We have a number of options. So it simply tells us that we can pair the USD against a couple of other currencies that doesn't have any high impact news for the day, right? We could pair the dollar against other currencies that doesn't have any high impact news coming out for the day. So I'd also like to do this. I'd also like to check our currency strength meter, right, to give us. So I'd also like to check our currency strength meter to give us the strength of each of these particular instruments or the strength of each currency to better inform us on which of the instruments we'll be looking out for today, especially for our currency traders, right? So we could see that um, overall, the strongest currency of the bunch is the AUD. I think the Australian dollar, followed by the New Zealand dollar. We have the Great Britain pound, then closely followed by the euro, the USD, CAD, JPY, and CHF being the weakest for this morning, right? So with this information, I can actually tell that if I'm going to be pairing the like of, let's say, AUD against CHF, I'm most likely going to be looking out for a buy on such a pair, right? I'm most likely going to be looking out for a buy for such a pair. So, but of course, like I said, we have high impact news coming out on the dollar. So, of course, with time, the strength on the dollar should actually change, right? The strength on it. So, despite the fact that the dollar is weak now, right? I expect that the dollar should gain some momentum, right? I expect that the dollar should gain some momentum in the market. Right, so let's quickly look at what happened yesterday. Right, let's look at what really happened yesterday after those high impact news came out to better influence our decision. So most of this news that came out were speech. If you had joined yesterday's class, most of this news that came out yesterday were speech. So there was no data backing it. So we'd have to open each of them up to see what really happened. So I think um okay, so I think from the headlines here, I tell people you don't really need to watch the whole news and everything. You could easily just come to Forex Factory and get the headlines. With the headlines, you could tell what each of these speaker actually said. Like from the speech from Fetcher Paul, what he said was that there will be more restrictions coming, right? So let's quickly open this headline up to see what's happened yesterday. So Fetcher Powell is saying there will be more restriction coming, including possibility of hike at consecutive meetings. So there is possibly going to be more interest rate hike, right? So that's what Fetcher Powell is saying. So I said yesterday that after the whole analysis of after all the whole interest rate hike from the past few months, looking towards curbing inflation crisis in the US, right? So they sat down to review, okay, has this interest rate hike been positive to the US economy? And based on that, now they will now determine if there's still going to be further interest rate hike or there's going to be a halt in interest rate hike. So I think after the whole news, it has come to a conclusion that there's most likely going to be more interest rate hike, right? There's mostly going to be more interest rate hike in the US, right? So that was what came out from the US zone. So let's look at what came out from other zone. But most especially, we're looking out for the US today, for the US dollar, because that's where we have bulk or majority of the high impact news coming out for today. For the GBP, what we had from them was Bank of England governor suggests that there will be, okay, let's open that up. So this is just how to source for news. I'm doing this so that you can understand how you source for news, especially on Forex Factory, how you source for news. Just the headline, if you read the headline and a little bit from what the speaker says, you could, and if you decide to, or if you want to get the full gist, you could just click on full story to get the full gist of what the news actually was about. So I think on Bank of England, they said they suggest that the market is mistaking outlook for bank rates. So there's going to be, and I think Bank of England also, after they also increased their bank rates also, and there is possibility that there might still be more increase. So if you read from this paragraph here, I said Governor Bailey told the European Central Bank Forum on the central banking that he felt it was better to raise the bank rate from 4.5 to 5% by June. So most likely there's still also going to be another increase in bank rate for the Bank of England. So this is just simply telling you that policies or increase or interest rate hike that most of this economy had done before is still not enough to curb the inflation crisis at the moment. So they are most likely going to be looking at more interest rate hike as the year proceeds, or as in coming months, right? So most of them are looking at more interest rate hike. So you could take out time to look at what the news said yesterday on other currencies, because we had a couple of speech on other currencies. So you could take out time to look at the news that came out, especially on the JPY and on the euro, right? You could just take out your time. But for today, let's quickly just focus on the US dollar, since we've missed out on the Spanish flash CPI, though that's a medium impact news. The impact might not be so much, but it came out positive for the euro. So I'm expecting a little bit of a positive turn on the euro. I think that's why the euro has a little bit of strength this morning, right? But like I said, our major focus today will be the dollar. So let's quickly go into the chart. Let's quickly go into the chart. Okay, so let's look at the first instrument for today. The first instrument for today, we're looking at the GBP USD, right? We're looking at GBP USD. Don't mind my chart. My chart is always very messy, so it's just a way of me tracking accurately the. I try to track price from a particular time up until now, so that's why I have a whole lot of lines on my chart. But let me just do well to delete all this so you could easily follow up on what we are doing. Okay. And also deleting my trend line. So this was the move from yesterday. So after the effect of the news, the speech from yesterday, we had this high volatility, right? Bless me. So we had a whole lot of volatility. I think GBP, the news on the GBP wasn't really so favorable. It wasn't that the dollar gained a whole lot of strength, because if you're looking at dollar index, though we had a little bit of push up on the dollar yesterday, but I don't think it warranted this long candle. Price actually sold on GBP for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, 7 hours straight. And if you're telling me you didn't make any money from this move yesterday, then I'd be highly disappointed after everything we said yesterday. And if you didn't join the class yesterday, then it was a big loss on your side, right? So price actually sold on GBP for 7 hours straight. And I mean, no trader would have watched that market go by without actually making money from it. And I expect that the GBP on its own, let's go back to the currency strength meter. I think the GBP on its own, let's see how how well the GBP is doing. Yeah. So the GBP on its own is not really so strong, right? Though it has a little bit of this, is it's increased by +2. See, it has even dropped now, right? Just right in front of us, it has dropped, and euro has climbed, and it's still interchangeable. I still expect that the US dollar should still increase for today. So most likely by the time by 1:30, when the news will be coming out on the US dollar, I expect the US dollar to almost be at the top of the charts, right? I expect the US dollar to almost be at the top of the chart. So I'm still going to be looking out for a positive outturn for the dollar today. So for an instrument like GBP USD, I still see a further sell as at when the news comes out. But if you're looking at it technically, this morning price has actually been ranging, and the best way to trade a ranging market is to wait for a breakout, right? Except you're a scalper, and scalping on currency is not really a smart thing to do if you're scalping on currency, because volatility on currency isn't so much, unlike indices. If you're scalping on currency, you just might be settling in for breadcrumbs, except you're using very, very large lot size. And of course, I tell people use lot size that is proportional to your trading account, right? So if you're looking at taking advantage of this market on a 15 minutes time frame, you're looking at taking advantage of this market now while the market is still scalping. You most likely will want to trade in between this region, which is trading this zigzag pattern. So from the top here, from the resistance, you're looking at taking a sell down to the bottom here, right? So in a scenario where you're looking at taking short-term trade before the news comes out, so you're looking at doing this. Let me just line this up. You're looking at doing this, right? So you're looking at taking a sell from the resistance point here, which price has actually approached. So if I'm actually going to be taking a stance now, I'll take a sell now instantly on this particular instrument, riding price all the way down to this support, right? And if I'm taking another position after that, I'll look at taking a buy as soon as price gets to the support down to the resistance at the top. And I can keep doing that depending on when the news comes out by 1:30, because that will now determine to what direction we'll be getting that breakout, because it's a ranging market. And of course, like I said, we're expecting a breakout. So if you're doing this, if you're doing this now, you could trade in between this region following this basic principle. You sell at the resistance, buy at the support. You can keep doing that and try and make as much as you can, or try and scalp the market as much as you can, depending on when the news actually comes out, right? So, and by the time the news comes out, like I said, we're expecting more of a breakout. Since it's a ranging market, I want to take price when it breaks out. So I'd be looking at taking a buy, right? But I expect that it should go in favor of the dollar. So before we do that, let's check for the next support zone after this notable support here. So looking at this, if I'm to shrink my chart, you could see that the next support zone at this point, let me move. Yes, so you could see that the next support zone after this particular place where I have my line here is somewhat around here. Yes, that's the next notable support, right? That's the next notable support, right? Let's see. Okay, there's another one here. Okay, there's a support zone here, which was once a resistance. So a lot of persons don't really do this, but I tell people, if you're looking at your chart and you can't see any support zone at the moment, the best thing to do is to go to a higher time frame to get the next support, because that will give you a good idea of where to put your take profit. If you don't do this, you just might be trading blindly, and it will cost you a lot. it will cost you a lot. So you could see that here was once a resistance, somewhat around the 28th of March, we had a resistance here. Same thing on the 6th of April, this was a resistance, and it was also a resistance on the 1st of June. And now on the 13th of June, we had this as a resistance now turned a support, right? A resistance that now became a support. And now currently that point is still serving as a support for price. So most likely if price breaks here, it should travel all the way down to this support. So making that point a next good take profit point for price, making that a next good take profit point for price. So that being said, I'll go to my 1 hour time frame and you could clearly see that support zone. So if at all I'm going to be looking out for a sell, should it come out positive for the dollar, I'm going to be looking out for a sell if price breaks below this point, 1.26051. If price breaks below that point, I'm going to be looking out for a sell down to this support zone at 1.25166. Down to this point at 1.25166, down to this point. So that would be my sell preference. So of course, you wouldn't want to be taking a sell on those particular price level. You want price to go below, right? Don't get it wrong. You're not taking a sell because this is a support zone. Taking your sell on a support is tantamount to you getting losses on your trades. So you want to be sure that price has completely broken below this point. So most likely I could target myself from here, right? It depends on what I'm looking out for, or I could target my sell all the way up here. So if price is, the whole idea is once price is able to break below this point, I could pick any price level in between this region down to my take profit point. So if I'm taking it from, let's say I give 10 pips, if I'm to give 10 pips, if I'm to start myself somewhere around here, down to this price. So this is still roughly about 73 pip, right, on GBP USD. GBP USD is also one of the most profitable currency pair you could find out there, right? So if I'm taking my sell, I could do this and still target. And of course, I'm not putting my take profit on my support zone. I want to take my profits before it hits that support zone. So I most likely will be targeting roughly around 60 pips, right? And that's still something if I'm using a very good lot size. Take, for example, I'm using a standard lot on GBP USD, right? A standard lot on GBP USD should be giving me nothing less than, let's say, 600, yeah, around that amount, 600 or about 600. Then is it 600 or some sort of, or more than that? Because GBP USD is much more profitable than Euro USD, right? It's much more profitable than USD. So you should be getting something way more than that on GBP USD. So at least I should be able to make nothing less than 20, 30 or 40,000 naira from this particular trade, right? From this particular trade. So that's GBP USD. My preference would be for a sell in favor of the dollar, right? So that's, and of course, like I said, it's going to be determinant on what the news says. So if you're going to be trading this morning, use this. From the top here, you could take a sell following this particular pattern. Then you could trade in between this region while price is still ranging, and then wait on for a breakout. So by the time the news comes out and you get a big breakout, if you're getting a breakout to the upside, simply meaning that price came out negative for the dollar, you're most likely going to be seeing a push up on GBP USD. If it comes out negative for the dollar, you might see a push up on GBP USD. So, but you would want to go in for a buy if price breaks above this point at 1.26525, 1.26525. So you want to go in for a buy if price breaks above that point. Same principle. Of course, you don't want to take your buy at the resistance point. You want price to break above the resistance and then ride your way out to the next resistance at the top, right? Ride your way up to the next resistance at the top, right? So that's just that for GBP USD. So let's look at the next instrument, which is Euro USD, right? Euro USD actually came out no, we had a positive sentiment on Euro USD. The news on the Euro actually came out positive, and that's actually what influenced this long buy candle. So if you were on the chart as at 8 o'clock when that news came out, that was about 30 minutes ago or 34 minutes ago when that news came out, you would have been able to ride this buy momentum. But if you missed it, just like I did, right? If you missed this buy momentum just like I did, then you would want to wait for the news on the US dollar to still key into Euro USD. But I think since the effect of the news has actually started fading off, because price has gotten to this resistance point at the top here. Price has gotten to this resistance point at the top here. So what I'm expecting is price to trade technically from here. So I'm most likely going to be going in for a sell, right? I'll be going in for a sell on Euro USD, right? I'll be going in for a sell on Euro USD. So for my sell on Euro USD, I would expect that price bouncing off this resistance should fall down to this next support here. And since we have news coming out on the dollar, right, I expect that the dollar should gain strength, right? Should gain strength against the euro. So most likely going in for an instant sell on Euro USD at this point would be the best take, right? Going in for an instant sell down to this next support zone at 1.08969, right? So I'd want to go in for an instant sell, following it technically, since the effect of the news on Euro USD has most likely faded off at this point in time. So you trade it technically, and of course, fundamentally also, the price trend to be shifting towards the dollar. So I'd most likely will be going in for a sell, right? So that's for Euro USD for this morning, right? So let's also look at, this is on a 30 minutes time frame. Let's also look at it on a 1 hour time frame to see if, yes, on a 1 hour time frame, let me zoom this in a little and take out all this. Okay, so for Euro USD, okay, please give me a moment. Okay, so for Euro USD on the 1 hour time frame also, I still will be pushing in for a sell on this particular instrument. Like I said, price has been is being rejected at this resistance point, and most likely it should come all the way down to the next support zone here. It should come all the way down to the next support zone we have here. So from this resistance down to this support zone, we should I'll still be going in for a sell. I'll still be going in for a sell on Euro USD. That's my preference on Euro USD. And same indication on a daily time frame also. It's still giving you pointers for a sell, right? On the 1 hour time frame, price just hits my resistance point, and of course, being rejected from that point, next thing you should be getting is a sell. Despite the fact that price is actually buying now, I still will be sticking out my neck for a sell on Euro USD at this point in time for a long-term trade, right? So let's also look at USD JPY. Let's look at USD JPY. Of course, the strength on, since we don't have any high impact news coming out on the JPY, the sell already has started off on USD JPY. One thing about JPY is that most times, because it trades mostly at night, you get more volatility on JPY mostly at night. So early hours of the morning and at night, you get more of a buy position on JPY. It's one strategy I've been using for a while, and it really works. So early hours of the morning, you get little buy like this, you get something like this early hours of the morning. It's most likely a constant. Say something like this early hours of the morning. Can you see? Early hours of the morning, you get this. Okay, this one wasn't so prominent, but at least you still have that buy. Let me take out this. At least you still have a little bit of that buy, right? So if you're if you wake up very early in the morning, you could still take advantage of. It's sometimes it's usually just a short burst buy, but it's accurate over time. I think I've looked at JPY, and it's usually accurate over time. So I've pointed that out on several occasions. You could see early hours of the morning, you have that. So, and I can keep going, and you still be getting the same results, right? I can keep going and you still be getting the same result. Yeah, wasn't so much. We didn't get so much here, but you still had that little bit of a buy as soon as the day starts up. Yeah, we didn't get that, right? But it's something that works, right? It's something that works. If you're able to wake up very early in the morning to trade JPY, the early hours of the morning, you most likely will be getting that, taking advantage of that buy opportunity, right? So like I said, there is no high impact news coming out on the JPY. So most likely what you'll be seeing, price being rejected at the resistance here. So rejection 1, rejection 2. I'm expecting that price should also sell for the JPY this morning. For the USD JPY, I'm pitching for sell also. Right. So but I wouldn't want to sell now. I wouldn't want to go for an instant sell now, because there is also a strong support here for price, which has been rejected price 1, 2, and this is making it the third time where price is still struggling to break below that point. So if I'm going to go in for a particular trade on USD JPY, I most likely will be going for a sell once price is able to break below 144.121. Once price is able to break below that point, then you can ride in for your sell up until this point here, right? So you could use this as your first take profit down to here, and then use this as your second take profit point, right? So and of course, like I said, if the fundamental comes out in favor of the dollar, so this to take profit might not be anything for price to break through, right? Might not be anything for price to break through. But the whole idea is, if as soon as price is able to break below here, you should go in for a sell. I wouldn't want you to go in for a sell now, looking at the fact that you have a very, very good support at this particular point. So you would want to go in for that sell below that support. So once price is able to break below that 144.121, once price is able to break below that point, so you could take in your sell anywhere from there down to this point as your first take profit. Take your profit before this support here, and if it keeps going down, if it breaks below this point, you could initiate another sell from here down to this point, right? Down to this point, right? So I hope you're taking screenshot of this price map. Just take screenshots so that you can easily analyze them when you want to take your trades, right? So let's look at the next instrument. Let's look at USD CAD. Like I said, we'll most likely be treating just USD pairs, and then we'll look at stocks, we'll look at gold, and we'll look at one agro commodity. So let's look at USD CHF. For USD CHF, also the same pattern is being formed. The same thing you have on USD JPY also. You have almost the same thing playing out on USD CHF. So I'm also pitching my neck out for a sell on USD CHF. I'm pitching my neck out for a sell, price being rejected at a support, at a resistance point. So, and here for USD CHF, if you look closely, this point here was a support zone, or is a support zone, and that support actually played out somewhere around the year, right? That's why you're having this little bit of a rejection at around this point, right? But the overall direction for USD CHF is going to still be a sell despite this rejection point. I still believe that price would break below this point, especially with the fact that we have news coming out on the USD. So most likely you enter in for a sell. Let me see what. Okay, that's weak. That support zone is most likely a weak support, because I'm not seeing any rejection. Let's shrink this chart. I'm not seeing any other. Yes, I'm not seeing any other one. This is where it is. I'm not seeing any other one. So that's most likely a weak support, because price just tested there once. So that being a weak support, you still can go in for an instant execution for a sell, right? You still can go in for an instant execution for a sell, because I don't think that support will really hold water, considering the fact that we have news coming out on the USD for today. So you could go in for an instant sell, putting your take profit at around 0.89599. So I'd use that as my take profit, my first take profit, and then if price is able to break below that point, of course, you could ride it down to the next support at around here. So that would be giving us a whole. So from my instant sell down to the first take profit point should be giving us around 15 pip, which is not so much, but down to the next support, we should be getting around 46 pip, right? USD CHF is also not it's currency pair also. So if at all you're going to be taking good advantage of this particular trade, you need to do it with a better lot size, so that that's a few amount of pip would result to good profit for you, right? Would result to good profit for you. So the next instrument we'll be looking at is USD CAD. So like I said, I think most of the USD pairs are going in favor of the dollar at this point. At this point here, you have more of what we call a double top. More of a double top, right? And that's a candlestick, that's a chart pattern for a bearish reversal, right? So that this is a chart pattern for a bearish reversal. So I expect this to play out. I expect this reversal to play out at least to this support zone here, at least to this support zone. And if you're checking it, if you're very familiar with candlestick, if you're very familiar with candlestick formation, if you see this candle here, this candle here is your long leg doji, and then here we have an inverted hammer at your support zone, at your resistance zone rather, an inverted hammer at your resistance zone. You also have a long leg doji, and then this particular bearish candle forming now, once it closes bearish, that's all the confirmation you need for a sell, right? That's all the confirmation you need for a sell. And as soon as that closes bearish, you could ride your sell down to this support zone at 1.32462, right? You could ride it all to this point. And of course, if the news comes out and it comes out positive for the dollar, you still might see a more bearish move down to the next support zone, which is around this point. This was a resistance which is now acting as a support. So you could use this as your first take profit and then follow it all the way if price is able to break this point. So initiating another sell as soon as price is able to break below this point down to the next support zone, right? And of course, if the volatility on from the news is very, 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 very high, you most likely will see price break through these two supports, just like it did yesterday on GBP USD, right? Just like it did yesterday on GBP USD. You saw GBP USD break several support. It broke this support and most likely broke on that support to get here, right? So you most likely will be seeing the same thing on USD CAD if it comes out positive for the dollar, right? So my preference on USD CAD is also a sell, technically and fundamentally, right? So let's look at dollar index also. Let's look at dollar index. So dollar index against a basket of other currency isn't really doing so well. The dollar against a basket of other currency isn't really doing so well. And I think this is trading technically because price has gotten to a high point, right? Not the highest point in a while, but it got to this resistance point and it's doing more of a retracement from this resistance. Yeah, right? More of a retracement from this resistance because we still have a good amount of time before the news comes up by 1:30. So we still have a good amount of time for the chart to trade technically. So we are seeing a bounce off from this resistance. So most likely what you'll be getting is price gets to this support, which it's almost close. It's close rather. It's close to the support already. So price getting to this support and then you see a rejection from that support. So I still feel price will trade in between 102.922 to 102.510. Price might actually trade in between this region for now, right? So like the same thing I gave you on GBP USD, you most likely would want to trade this in this pattern. So price gets to the support, you take in for a buy, and then from the resistance, you take in a sell. So you could do this following the price direction. Let's also look at it on a smaller time frame. Let's say a 15 minutes time frame. So you could see that this is still in order. This is still valid. So from the top here, from the bottom rather, I go in for a buy back to the resistance, and then from the resistance, I go in for a sell back to the support, right? You could do this for range. This is the best strategy to trade a ranging market. This is the best strategy to trade a ranging market if you don't want to wait for a breakout, right? If you don't want to wait for a breakout. So you could keep doing this. So you could do this for a ranging market, but overall, I still will stick out my neck for a buy on the dollar index, right? I still would, but I don't know. Like I said, the effect of the news is what we cannot tell accurately as a trader, but I still expect that we should get more of a bullish momentum. So even if you're going for a scalp, ensure that you're going to be looking out for mostly a buy position. Right, I advise to stick out mostly for a buy position on this particular instrument to be on the safer side. Look out for mostly a buy on the dollar index to be on the safer side, right? So let's look at gold also. Gold being a reactive instrument for the dollar, you could see this major slump as a result of the fact that yesterday when speculations on increase in interest rate actually came out, when on speculation on when increase in interest rates actually came out, we had further decline in the in gold, in the prices of gold. We had further decline in the prices of gold, and I still think gold has been more of a bearish run for a while now, and I still think that bearish move should still continue. Look at using my trend line, you could easily track that bearish move. You could easily track that bearish move. So I still feel that there is room for a little bit of a retracement on gold, depending on when it still continues on that trend, right? So what I will be looking out for on gold is most likely a further sell, because price is currently at the support zone, right? You're seeing price at this zone, and then you're seeing very, very little candle in anticipation for the news coming out. So I'd want to go in for a sell should price break below this point, right? The price break below that point. A lot of persons would have actually looked at this candle, this price pattern, and gone in for a buy. If you're looking at it technically, yes, you most likely will be looking out for a buy. But also, I have my moving average here, which is my 21 period moving average, also serving as a resistance for price. So if the possibility of price breaking above my moving average, and also I drew my trend line to track the trend. I drew my trend line here to track the trend, and if you notice, price gets to this trend line, bounces back down, gets towards the trend line, and bounces back down. So it still might continue that move. It still might continue that move. So I don't see price breaking above my moving average, or to say, or even get towards that trend line now because of the news coming out, except it's going to come out negative for the dollar, right? But like I say, before a news comes out, there's always positive sentiment, right? People are anticipating, people believe something good should come out from a particular news. So that positive sentiment should still drive the dollar, or if it doesn't push the dollar down for now, you still might get a ranging market around this point. So what you'll be looking out for is a ranging market. The price might actually range in between here and here. And for an instrument like gold, you could also you could take advantage of the range, because gold is also very volatile. So if you're looking at taking advantage of a ranging market, like I said, you could do what I call scalping the range, right? So you're doing this also as price from a resistance point to take your sell, and then keep doing that, because you most likely will not be getting a clear direction until when the news comes out, especially for gold. Like I said, gold is a very reactive instrument to the dollar. So if the dollar isn't gaining a lot of volatility, you might not be getting a whole lot of volatility on gold, keeping price in between this region, year and year. So price level, so gold will be ranging in between price level 1907.84 and 1901.93. So price will be ranging in between that. So if you're looking at taking trades this morning, you would want to take your trades in between that region, scalping in between that region. So price at a resistance, you take a sell down to the support, from the support you take a buy back to the resistance. You could do that and wait for the breakout, right? So once it's 130, you most likely will now be getting a clear cut direction as to where the market will be going to. So I'm going to go in for a sell in anticipation that the dollar is actually going to gain more strength, or the news will come out favorable for the dollar. I'll be going in for a sell once price is able to break below 1901.93. Of course, it wouldn't be on that region. Anything below that point, you could go in for your sell. And then looking for a good take profit point, I need to go to a higher time frame. Let's go to a 1 hour time frame. Okay, so let's go to 4 hours. Do we have another? No. Let's go to a daily time frame. Okay, so on a daily time frame, I was able to get another support zone, which is somewhat around. The next support is actually very far, though. Okay, so we have this point here, this support point, which is also a resistance point. I don't know if you can see this, right? So this was a support point. It also served as a resistance point. So that's a good support point for price. That's our next support point for price. So going back to a 1 hour time frame, and you shrink your chart a bit. So you could see that that's quite a lot. So if I'm going to be going in for a sell, once price is able to break below this point, I'd be targeting roughly around 360, 369 pips, right? Roughly around, no, 397 pip, right? On gold. That's quite a lot. So in my head, I know price traveling all the way down there, despite the fact that there is no notable support uh, from that point, from this point down to the next resistance and down to the next support, noting that there is no notable support in between here. The best play to do is for me to ensure that price actually hits my take profit, I might want to cut down on my take profit, right? I wouldn't want to ride the price all the way down there in case it doesn't get there and forms a new support, right? Because this distance is quite far, except the volatility from the news is quite heavy, which I'm not very certain of, right? So I wouldn't want to play all my cards out on this trade, riding it all the way down. So I would want to split this into two. So that's about 390 pip. So I might want to split that into two, targeting roughly around maybe 150 pip, right? I could target 150 pip, leaving my take profit somewhere around here, right? So that will still give me good profit if I'm using a very good lot size. But if you're not using a very good lot size, if you're taking it small with a small lot size, you most likely would want to follow it down to the next support zone. I don't know if you get me, right? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So in order for you to ensure that price hits your take profit, right? Looking at the fact that the next take support zone is quite far, right? The smartest thing to do will be use a good lot size and we could cut the number of pip, maybe divide it by half or something, right? That will ensure that price actually hits your take profit. Or you could decide to leave your take profit open, use a trailing stop, right? Use a good trailing stop. That would also serve the same purpose, right? That would also serve the same, that would also serve the same purpose, right? So that's what I would do for gold this morning. So if it comes out, of course, negative for the dollar, you definitely will see gold push up. But if it's going to be pushing up, of course, you still have my trend line to contend with, and then this resistance points to contend with. Let me zoom in a little and then increase this so that you can see that much more clearly, right? So if it's going to come out negative for the dollar, of course, gold should push up, and you'd want to go in for a buy if price breaks above here. But my preference on gold is a sell, right? My preference on gold is a sell. So you most likely will just leave your pending order for a buy just in case price breaks above 1907.84. Most likely will just leave a pending order and then put your take profit at the next resistance at the top. You should be able to note out your next resistance at the top and then just put that just in case. But my preference on gold is a sell. My preference on gold is a sell. So let's look at oil before looking at indices. Oil this morning, we have also a ranging market on oil, right? So this one is a very clear-cut a very clear-cut analysis, because you're just most likely looking for a breakout. Once price is able to break out on oil, and okay, let's look at it on a 15 minutes time frame first. Yeah, the same thing too. You see this play out. You see this ranging market play out, right? So I still expect, I was saying yesterday that there most likely will be further decrease in the price of oil, because the US on its own is trying to cap the price of oil to they're trying to ensure that the prices of oil doesn't go above $100 mark, right? It doesn't go above $100 mark. So, and they've been doing everything in their power to ensure that prices of oil drops, right? They've been doing everything in their power to ensure that prices of oil drop. And then also in the Asian zone too, right? Despite the fact that they are coming out to say their economy is now trying to open up and all of that, they are still having a little bit of how will I call it, issues with COVID. I'm not sure they are truly done with this whole COVID saga. So most part of their economy has not really fully opened up, right? Especially production and all has not really fully opened up. So consumption of oil, China being the second largest oil consuming nation, right, has not fully opened up their economy towards getting more use of oil. So of course, you should still see further decline in the prices of oil, looking at what US is doing, and also the demand rate from China has also not been able to match up with what it used to be, right? So I'll still be pitching out my 10 for sell on oil this morning. So if once price is able to break below 73.62, once price is able to break below that, are going for a sell down to this point here, which was a resistance point, now a support, are going for a sell down to 73.17. Right, 73.17. I'd go in for a sell once price is able to break below that point. So my preference on oil this morning is a sell, short term and long term. I'm still looking at further sell on oil, right? So let's look at US index. US index is also most likely going to be expressing a further slump in price because of course we're expecting positive sentiment on the dollar, which should drive stocks down, right? We're expecting positive sentiment on the dollar, which should drive stocks down. And if that continues, if the dollar index actually picks up and gains strength, you should still see stocks fall all the way down to this point. And if you notice, I actually marked out a support zone here yesterday, right? I marked out a support zone here yesterday, and price has actually comfortably broken below that support, and it has closed below that support with a confirmation candle here. So I have my Morambozu here, which closed below that support zone. So this is an indication for a price continuity, right? An indication for a price continuity. So I should still see a further sell position down to price level 15026.91, right? I should still see, despite the fact that price is actually buying now, I should still see a further sell position down to this point, right? Down to this point, right? So on US 100, even if you're scalping this instrument, you should be pitching out for a sell, right? Even if you're scalping this instrument, you should be pitching out for a sell on this particular instrument today for US 100. So same thing for, let's look at US 2000 before looking at G30, since it goes in line with US 100. So for US 2000 also, we have the same thing. Price is actually, unlike US 100, where price has actually broken below that support zone. US 100, US 2000 is being supported on that, is being supported now, right? But like I said, I still expect price to sell on US 2000, right? But if you're going by it technically, if you're scalping going by it technically, you'd most likely would want to say, okay, let's take a quick buy. But I strongly would not advise you keen for a quick buy now, because one thing about stocks is stocks can react very, very fast, especially to high impact news. So there's possibility you go in for a buy now, and then it's before the news comes out, the market start reacting to it. So you most likely will be caught in a crossfire. So it's best you just wait. It's best you just wait and then key into a sell as soon as price is able to break below this point at price level 1.8. So once price is able to break below 1871.2, once price is able to break below that, you could take your sell down to the next support at 1859.3, right? Take your sell down to the next region there. So that would be the best option, rather than keying to a buy and then be caught in the crossfire when the market start reacting to the effect of the dollar. Right. So let's look at D30 and we'll look at corn for our VIP client also, right? So we have this on D30. I think D30 actually just gained a little bit of momentum from the news that came out on the euro. I think the news that came out on the euro didn't really go so well. And then D30 is a German stock. It also has to do with the euro. So we had a little bit of a push up yesterday on D30, though it wasn't so significant, but at least on an instrument like D30, that would have amounted to something, right? That would have amounted to something on D30. So today I'm still because we don't have any news coming out on the news we had on the euro is already gone. It came out positive for the euro and we had this slump on D30. So now I'm looking at price actually recovering, right? So I'm looking at short candles on D30, but like I said, D30 is one instrument that, regardless of how small price actually moves, you're actually going to make something from it. So price that would be ranging in between this region. So you could do the same thing on scalp price from the support zone, taking a buy down to this resistance. So I most likely will be going in for an instant buy now on D30, because if you're looking at it, the candlestick formation, I'm having more of a bullish engulfing now. I have more of a bullish engulfing now, right? So if this candle closes like this, you get what we have what we call a bullish engulfing at this point, and then of course that would serve as a bullish move. So I'll be scalping a buy from this point down to this resistance point, and then once price is able to comfortably approach my resistance at the top, then I'm looking for a sell from this top coming back down, right? So you could do this on D30 for the rest of the day, because price is most likely going to range in between this region, right? Since we don't have any news on the eurozone, right? So the last instrument we'll be looking out for is corn. So for those that took the trade on corn yesterday, I think they must have amassed quite a lot. Corn actually dropped a lot. It dropped a lot. And if you're looking at it, let's go to a 1 hour time frame. Yeah. So for today, sorry, please hold on. So for today, I still see, though we've had more of a ranging market, right? Though we've had more of a ranging market. Okay, so for corn, I'm actually still going to be expecting a further push down. I think a lot of sentiment around corn. Looking at the news, I was looking at the news a few days ago. There've been a lot of improvement on corn, and it's been a bountiful plant. It's been a very, very good planting season for agro commodities in general. So if you're looking at trading corn, if you're looking at trading soya beans, it's been a very good year for them. It's been a very good year for them, and of course, there've been a lot of agricultural grants which led to a lot of output, right? So planting season has been very good, and we're expecting that by the time harvest comes up, there should be a lot in supply matching the demand in the world at this particular point in time. So most likely, what you'll be seeing on across all agro commodity is continuous push down. As at the 20th of June, we had major push down on agro commodity. It was so much that we had this gap down on corn, and that would still continue to play out. So you still would want to look out for further sell on an instrument like corn. You still would want to look out for further sell on an instrument like corn, at least down to the next support zone, right? Down to the next support zone. So if you have good equity in your account, if you have good capital, you could just place in a sell on corn, and then just watch or just ride the wave down, at least for now, that we have good sentiment around agro commodity. So that's just it for the instrument we are going to be taking in for the day. And of course, for as many persons that were able to join the class yesterday and you made money from it. So I believe you bought your salary and everything. I've been sitting in the house the whole of yesterday. I still haven't gotten any meat yet. So if you're on this live broadcast and you've not sent me my meat, then there's problem, or there's going to be a problem by next week when we resume, right? So please, as much as possible, this money market analysis is not just for you to take trades, it's also for you to understand the dynamics of the market. That would, to a large extent, ensure that you become a profitable trader, right? That would be a large extent ensure that you become a profitable trader. So try as much as possible to follow this analysis, not just because you want to take trade, also to understand why we do certain things or why we take certain positions, right? This would help you ensure that you become a profitable trader in the long run. Of course, nobody wants to just sit and be waiting for someone to give you fish all the time. You also need to be able to fish, and this is a way you can learn how to fish this market yourself, right? So please be safe and have a wonderful holiday till we meet again next time.